Hi everyone, good morning. Very warm welcome to everyone here who's attending the panel discussion on leapfrogging payments. I'm Rajat. I lead fintech investments at Matrix Partners in India. We manage about $1 billion across three different funds. Big investors in fintech in general, lucky to be early investors in companies like Razorpay, MSwipe, Five Star Off Business, and more. But today I have with me three companies who I wish I was an investor in. In hindsight, I should have been an investor in each of these. But very happy to host Ashneer, Upasna, and Rajiv. Let me do very quick one-line introductions for each of them, and then I would hand over to each of you. And thanks to IIT Bombay Alumni Association for getting us all together here. So let me start with Upasna. Hi, Upasna. Welcome. Upasna is the founder of MobiQuick. She was a product manager at PayPal and HSBC in the US back in the day, and is a Stanford alum before she came to India to start MobiQuick about a decade or so ago. So thanks, Upasna, for joining us. I'm extending a very warm welcome to you. Next, Rajiv.
Hi, hi.
Okay. Rajiv, only IIT Bombay alum on the panel, interestingly. He was BTech back in the day in electrical engineering and PhD as well. He worked at Sasken and then founded Innovity about 18 odd years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Rajiv will talk more about his business. And finally, Ashneer. Ashneer is the founder of BharatPay, ex-CFO of Grofers, was heading Corp Dev at Amex, and interestingly, he led an investment in MobiQuick back in the day when he was heading Corp Dev, and he had a short stint at a jeweler as well. So that's the panel that we have today. People straddling across very different types of payments infrastructure and payment companies, and more fintech businesses that they're building around the payment companies as well. So very happy to host. And let me start with Upasna. Upasna, would be great if you could tell a little bit about MobiQuick. You know what all you do now. You started from wallet business, but it's morphed into so much more now. So what does MobiQuick do today, and how's the last 12 months been for you as a company?
Good morning to everyone, and thanks to IIT Bombay Alumni Association for organizing this. Very happy to be here, and thanks, Rajat, for having me on the panel. What does MobiQuick do, and how has the last 1 year been for us? So, MobiQuick started about 10 years back as a consumer wallet, very much like a PayPal account. You know, you add money in your account and then use it for spending on all your daily life needs, whether they are, retailers in the e-commerce space or physical retailers. And that's sort of what we've been doing for the last several years. 2, 3 years back, right after Demon, we started evolving from just a consumer wallet to additional things that we wanted to provide our users. And the additional important thing is a digital credit product that we launched on our platform. It's a very simple, small ticket credit available to users who don't otherwise have a credit card. So in India today, there are only 30 million unique Indians who have a credit card. And so we are trying to give credit to some of our users and tell them that, look, previously you needed to add money in the wallet and then you could do 5, 6 transactions, for your spends in the month. Now you don't even need to add the credit. We've approved you for, let's say, a line of 5,000, 10,000 rupees, and just go ahead and do all your spending. At the end of a 15-day period, we'll generate a bill and you'll be able to, pay that down. And it's at zero cost to the user. So we continue to operate it as a fee-based business where we make money from the merchants. And as I look forward to the next 5 years, we believe that both digital payments and digital credit, there are other keywords used, buy now, pay later credit, are very large pies, and there will be a lot of growth. It's still very underpenetrated in India. And these are sort of the two pillars that we'll capitalize on as we go forward. Of course, we have other capabilities in terms of insure tech, wealth tech. So sort of the offering to the user is a full stack from a financial products point of view. So that's where we are and how we are trying to build our business.
Interestingly, Upasana, you stayed away from both buy now, pay later and neobanks buzzwords. Seems like you're offering both, but not referring it to that. But
I'm not a very buzzword friendly person, right? We are very product driven as a company. And so the aim is to show the value proposition to the user and not so much to just use the famous lingos that will, interest people from a talking or a PR perspective.
yeah. No, that's my world. Rajiv, over to you. So similar things. What does Innovati do, and how's the last 12 months been? And Upasana will come back to the 12 months question back for you.
Sure. Thanks, Rajat. So yeah, it's good to be onto this panel, and of course, good to be with my alma mater alumni association too. So thanks for this opportunity. So what do we do? We are in the payment space. The way we have looked at payment transactions has been probably slightly different. And I think what we have been doing from early days is to turn payment transactions into customer acquisition opportunities. Opportunities for people who get affected by a payment transaction. So if you sort of look at the payment transaction as not just a money moving engine, but also something which brings together choices of the consumer, what the consumer is buying, where the consumer is buying, how they are paying for it, then you can look at it as almost as a point of validation of the marketing efforts of the brand, the merchant, and the bank behind it. And it starts becoming very interesting in terms of what you can do with it. So we've been turning payment transactions into customer acquisition opportunities from very early days. Of course, to do that, you build lots of software, you build lots of products around it, lots of propositions. That's what we've been doing. We process roughly about 40,000 crores worth of payment transactions annually. And last 12 months, what we have really been busy with is just making sure our customer service operations continue. We have a very high exposure to food and grocery and healthcare in our categories, and these two, of course, were open even during lockdown, and that was a pretty trying period for our teams because our field officers had to go visit the stores, make sure things were up and running, and despite all kinds of restrictions. So we saw a lot of innovation coming through from the teams, but thankfully, at least we were able to service the customer. I don't think we did the best possible job, but we were able to do that. So that was the highlight of it for us. The other highlight for us in the last 12 months was that, of course, we turned EBITDA positive in September, which we were targeting for March of 2020, but unfortunately, COVID hit us. So we turned EBITDA positive. That was great for us. What didn't go so well, I guess, were a lot of the face time with the customers, face time with partners, face time with employees went down. And that was the social interaction going down was not a very healthy thing because, we're a small company. We are not really at that scale where you have processes and your system so well set that people can continue to work. So that did affect productivity a bit, but otherwise it was fine. And going ahead, we do believe a lot of the offline merchants need access to good digital technologies, which can help them to acquire customers more efficiently. A lot of these technologies are available more easily to the online players, but the offline players really don't have access to it. And that's where there's a lot of good opportunity for us to add value, which is what we've been doing in the past. We'll continue to focus on that.
Great. And Ashneer, over to you. Bharat Pay, similar question. What all do you do today and last 12 months, and maybe you could also chat about how you're looking at the future.
Yeah, thanks Rajat. तो यार मैं हिंदी में बोल लेता हूँ, चेंज भी हो जाएगा सबके लिए. तो वी आर अगर बिजनेस बोले तो वी आर इनटू द QR space, and we 2018 is when we started and we put out our first QR code in 2018. So वैसे हम काफी छोटी कंपनी है in comparison to, या छोटा might not be the right word, but नई कंपनी है in comparison to other fintechs. And हमारा philosophy बहुत simple था कि पेमेंट्स में पैसा नहीं है हिंदुस्तान में, ठीक है. Now very different view to Upasana and everyone else, but मेरे को ये लगता है पेमेंट में पैसा है नहीं. And उसका रीजन ये नहीं है कि हमको सॉफ्ट बैंक ने पैसा दे दिया और हम उड़ा रहे हैं और इसलिए सबका रेवेन्यू खत्म कर देंगे। वो गवर्नमेंट ने ही यूपीआई लॉन्च करके सबका रेवेन्यू खत्म कर दिया, राइट। सो जो 2018 में मेरे को लगा कि सबका रेवेन्यू खत्म हो रहा है और पेमेंट में पैसा नहीं है, तो थिंग इज कि अगर दुकानदार पेमेंट के लिए पैसा नहीं दे रहा तो फिर वो ब्याज का धंधे के लिए पैसा दे सकता है। सो दैट्स व्हाट वी डू। हमारे यहाँ पे पेमेंट ट्रांजैक्शन की अगर मैं वैल्यू की बात करूंगा, हम 70,000 करोड़ 75,000 करोड़ साल का कर रहे हैं, $10 बिलियन की करीब। हर महीने की 10 करोड़ ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोसेस करते हैं। इस एंड 6 महीने पहले हमने स्वाइप की मशीन भी लॉन्च करी थी, बट वो भी सबसे डिफरेंट मॉडल था। बाकी लोग किराए पे देते हैं मशीन, हम बेचते हैं दुकानदार को। और दूसरी चीज जो हम करते हैं वो ये है कि आपके पास ऑप्शन है कि आप 0% फीस पे भी पैसा लेके जा सकते हो 15 दिन के बाद, पैसा रखने के बाद। सो बाकी लोगों से थोड़ा हटके करते रहते हैं, नॉट बिकॉज दैट इज अ कूल थिंग, बट क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है कि यार पेमेंट काफी ड्रास्टिकली चेंज हो गया ओवरनाइट इंडिया में। जो 10 साल पहले अगर मैं धंधा शुरू करता, मैं एग्जैक्टली वही करता जो उपासना कर रहे थे या जो पेटीएम करता है। बट अगर आपने 2 साल पहले धंधा शुरू करा है तो आपके पास बहुत डिफरेंट चीजें करने की ऑप्शन थी इन अ वेरी ड्रास्टिकली चेंजिंग मार्केट, एंड उसी पे लगे हुए हैं सर।
उपासना, राजीव, योर थॉट्स? पेमेंट्स में पैसा नहीं है।
So if I can maybe start that. So I believe depends कि हम पेमेंट्स को कैसे देख रहे हैं। अगर हम पेमेंट्स को एज अ मनी मूविंग मशीन देखेंगे, आई एग्री, देयर इज नो मनी टू बी मेड। बट अगर हम पेमेंट्स को, इफ यू लुक एट इट एज अ पाइप which connects the store to the entire online world, the entire internet, it becomes very powerful, because there isn't anything else which comes into a store which is actually takes him onto the cloud. So if you look at a payment transaction as cloud enabling a store, then it's very, very powerful. And of course, you know, the money has to be made differently, meaning we have made all our money out of that. Whatever we do, whatever profits we make today, it's all out of adding value from a payment transaction. And we believe it's a very, very consumer centric. So if you take classically across the world also, payments is all about user behavior. So it's never been one thing wins all. Whether you take US, whether you take Australia, whether you take Europe, it's always been a whole combination of different kinds of things, because it's very closely related to consumer behavior, how consumer feels comfortable in different scenarios to do things. And if you tap onto the consumer thing, there's a lot of value to be added. So that's been our thinking, that yes, if you're just looking at it as a money moving machine, frankly, there should be no reason for anybody to make money from it, because India is a poor country. Digital technology to free honi chahiye us tarah se. Lekin if you look at it as something which connects people, which connects data, it's very powerful.
Sure. Upasana, your thoughts?
Yeah. So see, 2-3 things I'll say. So, of course, different countries have different macro factors. And, one might say that with the level of people using payments digitally in India, of course, cash continues to be king. There is a lot of pressure on the economics. But look, hey, what I'll say is that the card networks in India, if we just take one example of payment, continue to exist. And the global leader is Visa, and the leader in India is also Visa. And, MasterCard, Amex, RuPay, they all are there in the market. Now, we all know what their valuations are. Of course, most of their revenues come from countries abroad, but I'm just saying, right? So I think that India has a very complex payment ecosystem. There are different payment methods, there are different business models, and there are different players. And I would agree that in some of them, there is no money to be made. But I also do believe that there is opportunity to make money in payments standalone. And I'm very happy to tell you that for this financial year, MobiKwik will do more than 500 crores in revenue just based on payments, and add a break-even profitability. So I can't comment about other people's models, but I would say that there is opportunity for various companies, to make money. I mean, and it's not just about MobiKwik. I would say that there are other players also in payments, like, there is Pine Labs, who's not on this panel, so I'm just taking their name. There are other companies also who make money in payments. Of course, the margins will always be, a question. And I do know that UPI, debit card, there is government mandated pricing on them. But to that, my point of view is that you can build your own ecosystem. The whole point of starting a startup or a company is that you can design something that you believe in. And for example, in our ecosystem, we are not affected by the government mandated pricing as much because we own the entire ecosystem. Like, what is a wallet license? You acquire your own users, you acquire your own merchants, and you run the rails. So you have the ability to charge whatever you like, so long as you can have a value proposition to your end customer.
Yeah, sure. So, but and coming back to you, Ashneer, these are disruptive models, and like you guys or maybe Cred now also becoming large. How do you see the future? Will some of these disruptive guys take over, or कैसे होगा ये? Will models coexist in India, or will India go the China way where it's just largely Alipay, VPay, and बस वही चल रहा है? Hey, Ashneer, can you hear me? I think we may have lost him. But Upasana, your view on how will future hold? Is this going to be a multi-product, multi-technology play going forward, or consolidation?
I think that there will be a lot of players and there will be a lot of models. And the reason I'll tell you that is that unlike US or even China, India today, out of the population of 1.2, 1.3 billion people, we don't have a billion transacting users today, right? Today we have 200, 250 million digitally paying users. Everybody else is on cash. Yeah. Even though many of these users are banked, like the total number of unique banked users is upwards of 600 million. Yeah. I think it's going to take at least 5 years for India to get to like 600-700 digitally paying users. So the game plan for any company, and I'm sure that, with the IITB folks that we have here in the audience, there are companies that started 10 years ago. There are companies that started 5 years ago. There are companies that will start today. There is a lot of room to grow because India still doesn't have a billion digitally transacting users. There is a lot of opportunity. And I don't believe that, the jury can be out today as to who is going to sort of rule the market. I think we'll have to see that play out over the next 5 years.
Yeah. Ashneer, sorry, the question was, how do you see the future playing out? Will disruptive models, itne be like what you said about POS, the way you've done it, or UPI-led stuff, or even Cred for that matter, right? Are these disruptive models just going to take over, and India will go the China route where there are two large payment players and nothing else? Or are there going to be multiple players, multiple types of form factors, and so on?
यार वो पता नहीं मेरे को, मतलब मैंने ना चाइना का मॉडल वगैरह कुछ स्टडी किया नहीं है टू बी एन एक्सपर्ट ऑन वेदर हम उस मॉडल में जा रहे हैं, बट मेरे को इतना पता है कि एंड ऑफ द डे इंडिया में सर्विस के लिए कोई पैसा नहीं देने वाला, राइट? एंड उसका सिंपल कारण ये है कि तुम्हारे पास 130 करोड़ लोग हैं, तो सबको लगता है कि कोई भी सर्विस फ्री में ही मिलनी चाहिए, और जो दुकानदार भी है एटलीस्ट वो तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं पैसा देने वाला सर्विस के लिए, चाहे वो पेमेंट हो या टेक्नोलॉजी हो या बुक कीपिंग हो या कुछ भी हो। सो घूम फिर के सबको करनी तो लेंडिंग ही पड़ेगी, एंड डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ लेंडिंग करनी पड़ेगी। एंड बिकॉज वो लेंडिंग करनी है एंड वो कंट्री इतनी बड़ी है और हर एक में अंडर राइटिंग लगेगी, देयरफॉर इट्स नॉट अ विनर टेक ऑल काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग मेरे पर्सपेक्टिव में। सो लेंडिंग हैवी रहेगा, ये श्योर है, एंड बिकॉज डाइवर्सिटी बहुत है कंट्री में, तो everyone will pick up with their own niche within that lending and create a big market within that. So मेरे हिसाब से तो multiple player market रहने वाली है।
Got it. Rajiv, your thoughts कि lending करनी ही पड़ेगी? We were chatting pre-panel कि you've not gone down that route as much.
Yeah. So we have at the ground level, we have seen some interesting stuff happen. And yeah, I think COVID has accelerated it also to a certain extent. So of course, small shopkeepers have challenges with having access to capital. But I think आज उनकी एक जो दूसरी problem ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है इस वक्त is कि उसकी sales भी down हो गई है. And that has got affected because of online, not so much as him himself. Because online in multiple ways is eating into his business, whether he likes it or not. It started with some categories, it is spreading to other categories, and COVID has accelerated it 10x. तो अभी तो अगर आप उससे थोड़ा बैठो बात करो उससे, I was there in this was just before the second wave started off, and we were visiting out the interiors in Karnataka and interiors in TN, and वो बंदा बोला था, सर मेरा धंधा नहीं हो रहा है, आप मुझे लोन दे दोगे, मैं उससे अपना घर चला लूंगा, लेकिन मैं और माल कहाँ से खरीदूंगा जब मेरा धंधा ही नहीं हो रहा है. So the problems have slightly shifted in the past 12 months. I'm not saying the problem of capital is not there, but the problem is shifted, and this problem is a trickier problem. It's a trickier problem because how do you help him sell more? Only if he can sell more does he want to buy more.
Sure.
Right? Otherwise, you might actually give him money, which instead of going into his business, would go somewhere else, which is riskier. So there is I think opportunity here. Definitely lending is required. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, easing the flow of capital is always useful for small businesses. But surrounding problems को भी अपने को ease out करना पड़ेगा, ताकि वो flow of capital सही जगह पे जाए. It does not land up into his funding his son's education or somebody else's vacation.
No, fair. But payments data, is it even helpful? Like, yesterday I was having a debate with an investor who's looking to invest in some of these companies, and he kept asking me this ki, ये payment data or these days so people are even talking about khata data or all kinds of data to look at to lend. Is it even possible, or what advantage do you get with that data, which a bank will just not have? Intent issues aside, right? I can understand bank ko to karna hi nahi ho business.
That's an interesting problem. I can share my views. And so unless you are really capturing a fairly significant portion of a category in a catchment and capturing all transactions that originate from that merchant, वो data ज़्यादा useful नहीं है. Bank के पास है वो. So unless diversity है payment instruments में और diversity है banks के अंदर, जो मतलब in the sense कि consumer is exercising choice कि मैं कैसे आ रहा हूँ दुकान पे और मैं कैसे use कर रहा हूँ, what instrument I'm using. Right? And the consumer may use different instruments at different points in time. And therefore, unless you have an ability to aggregate that information to provide a much more deeper view of the merchant, आपके पास a one-dimensional view रहेगा जो कि बैंक के पास भी है.
Yeah.
So it is trickier. I think I'm completely with you. So yes, and that has been a known problem in this space. It's been a known problem in this space that can you really do too much with payments data?
Yeah.
But if you aggregate a lot of data, there is a lot of interesting stuff you can do. Like, for example, if you are take a specific category, a high consumption category like food and grocery. Now, if you have access to a large number of merchants and you're processing a large number of transactions there, and obviously a large number of transactions of that store, with a reasonable amount of accuracy, you can actually start figuring out, where do consumers live, what is their spending pattern, what is the disposable income. A lot of information starts coming through. There are some interesting US models which have been created purely on aggregating multiple card data and trying to understand from them certain kinds of patterns.
But can I not argue, and Upasana, I'd love to get you in here as well, that can I not argue that all of this information is anyways available with a bank account statement? And why do you, and what other benefit do you get out of payment data to be able to lend?
Yeah, I think that spends data is always going to be useful and powerful. And like Rajiv said, I agree that, the more different payment options data on the spends is available, the better it is. But I think there are two kinds of banks in India. I'm not sure how many people in audience are aware, but just as an FYI, today India has about 650 million unique bank account holders. Some people have multiple accounts. Like I have 2 credit cards, I have 3 bank accounts, right? And that is true for many people in the upper economic circle. The top 100 million Indians, in terms of their economic power, they are well banked with the HDFCs, ICICIs, Kotaks, Axis, all the private banks put together. They have 120 million users, I believe. The balance banked users in India are all with the government banks. SBI has 300 million accounts. Canara, PNB, there are about 90 such banks. And that's where sort of the bulk of Indian users are. And therefore, all these customers of these banks, what do they have? They have a savings account and they have a debit card. And the debit card is used for spends, and it is also used as an ATM card just to withdraw cash and then do all the spends there. Now, one might argue that at least on the private banks front, they have looked at their user data very nicely and tried to give various products to their users, whether it is a credit card, an EMI on debit card, personal loans, whatever it is. With the government banks, the usage of technology has been fairly poor. So assimilation of this data and utilizing it to cross-sell financial products to their own users, I have not seen it happen so far. And I think that's where sort of the large, opportunity is, because all of these users don't have any credit products. So there's no data on them in the credit bureaus as well. So if you have proprietary data, sure, some of it might be there with Punjab National Bank, but if they're not using it and you can build your own machine learning models and capitalize on that data, then yes, it can be powerful to understand users and their credit profile.
Yeah. Okay. And if you think about, and open to any of you three, if you think of the biggest opportunities outside of lending for you over the next 12 to 24 months, what would those be?
For us, it's marketing. We believe that you can bring together, so like I was saying, in a payment transaction, if you see a payment transaction is actually three choices the consumer is making: what I'm buying, where I'm buying, and how I'm paying for it, right? Because finally, when the money moves, is when the product has actually been bought. Till the money doesn't move, it was all intent.
Sure.
So if you look at it as a point of application and validation of marketing offers, it's a very interesting piece, and it's been done to a certain extent in the country. The whole concept of EMI and BNPL plans, where partial funding is done by merchants, partial funding by brands, partial funding by the lenders, has been a thing, and I think that's a very interesting area, because if you look at it from the perspective of the P&L of any entity, the biggest budget always sits with marketing, and therefore whereas the other budgets, whether you look at the my interest expenses, which is my lending budget, or if I look at my operating expenses, which is my payments budget, are always a fraction of the marketing budget.
Sure.
So if you use payment transactions to dip into the marketing budget, it's crazy. I mean, both the margins and the kind of revenue you can make out of it is crazy. So we believe there is a lot of stuff there. It's harder technology. It's tougher kind of designs, but there's good stuff there. That's our thinking.
Yeah. No, fair. Seems like that's where the whole Dukaan tech and all seems to be going as well. Overall point of sale tech. Ashneer, for you, you've also done some interesting stuff on the balance sheet side, right? For your business. Can you talk a little bit about that as well? And there's a lot happening there with the bank and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So see, my belief is that on the savings side, right, especially in India, investment side, there's a lot that can be done. And the reason for that is, if you look at it, equity markets are very shallow. Like normal जनता को कुछ नहीं चमकता है equity market में, right? And the banks on the deposits and everything, the interest rates are very low now, right? So at best, अगर आप एक साल के लिए अपना पैसा 7% मिल जाएगा, बट अगर आप ओवरनाइट पैसा रख रहे हो आपको 3% मिलता है, राइट? एंड जो छोटे बिजनेस हैं उसको तो लिक्विड फंड वगैरह कुछ नहीं चमकता है, राइट? तो उसको तो 0% मिलता है इन करंट अकाउंट. सो मेरे को लगता है एक बड़ी मार्केट वहां पे बनेगी जहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए प्रोडक्ट भी आप डाल सकते हो इन एडिशन टू पेमेंट, राइट? एंड वो इन्वेस्टमेंट की पैसे इनफैक्ट आपको पेमेंट के फ्लो से निकालने पड़ेंगे, राइट? बट तो हमने जो एक शुरू किया है वो P2P इन्वेस्टमेंट का है, जिसमें कोई मर्चेंट ओवरनाइट पैसे सेव करके 12% कमा सकता है, राइट? एंड इट्स बिग, राइट? लाइक we have almost $50 million deployed through our system by merchants, and where they earn 12%, and they love it because they need a as close to a de-risk product, as simple as and as close and as simple as ब्याज, जो उनको आसानी से चमकता है. सो मेरे हिसाब से वो मार्केट काफी बड़ी है. वो P2P के फॉर्म में आएगी या किसी और डिपॉजिट के फॉर्म में आएगी, दैट इज अ फंक्शन ऑफ रेगुलेशन एंड इनोवेशन. बट वो वाली मार्केट अभी स्क्रैच भी नहीं हुई है इन सम सेंस.
Yeah, fair. Upasana, have you thought about this savings and investments piece as well?
Yeah, so actually we acquired a company called Fair Funds a couple of years back, and they were a direct mutual funds platform. So we actually have a SEBI RIA license as well, by virtue of which on the MobiKwik platform today users can invest money in any of the mutual funds in India with the ticket sizes as low as 1,000 rupees. And in addition to that, we also enable investments into digital gold, and it can be traded also, buy, sell, you can. And that's been fairly successful. Of course, there's some seasonality which is related to Indian festivals where people buy more gold. Fixed deposits and other instruments where people can earn higher returns is also something that we are working on actively. Like I said, InvestTech piece and also InsurTech piece is sort of on our radar. So there again, we have built out the capabilities. In fact, last year we sold almost 1 million insurance policies. These are all small ticket insurance, like something that you can buy by paying a premium of 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 150 rupees, and the covers are 1 lakh to 5 lakh in nature. All kinds of products, fire insurance for small shops, cyber fraud insurance for people, for money, being used digitally. Of course, life, health, all kinds of products, dengue cover. So InsurTech and WealthTech does have a tremendous scope. And while, Bharat Pay and Innovati might be focusing more on the merchant side, we focus more on consumer side with these products.
Upasana, you are not thinking to use the investment flow as like a bank uses that as their source of funds to lend further, right? You're not thinking of moving in that direction as well?
Not really. I mean, we've explored it. I can't promise we won't tinker or experiment there, but I think largely speaking, all our offerings on the credit front today, which is mainly this 15-day 10,000 rupee buy now pay later product and 40,000 rupee EMI based shopping loan product. These are all, products where the loans are directly booked with our partners, which are large banks and NBFCs. And of course, we run the product, the portfolio, and so we have rich commercials in it. But we would like to be asset light as a business and continue working in partnership with these balance sheet holders that we already have.
Yeah, got it. Is moving on to the hottest stuff in payments these days. What's this whole NUE mania? Have you been able to make sense of it? Why? And any of you can start. Why is everyone just jumping on to the bandwagon?
Yeah. So sorry, I'll take the lead on this. It's my favorite topic. So यार देखो ऐसा है हिंदुस्तान में कुछ भी
Ashneer, there is some feedback to you that it's a pan IIT some forum, so you have to speak in English apparently. And I know you speak impeccable English.
मेरे को see here's the thing. I'll rather be politically incorrect and speak in Hindi. जो मेरे को यार सैटरडे संडे को मेरे को इंग्लिश नहीं समझती है, मतलब वीकेंड पे हिंदी ठीक है.
तो this is called भारत पे.
नहीं तो यार see हिंदुस्तान में ना जब भी कोई लाइसेंस बिकता है तो लोग बहुत एक्साइटेड हो जाते हैं, राइट. एंड उपासना को पता है बिकॉज हमने बैठ के जब पेमेंट्स बैंक लाइसेंस निकला था तो बहुत डिबेट करी थी कि लेना चाहिए नहीं लेना चाहिए. एंड ऑफ कोर्स पेटीएम कूद गया था एंड उपासना नहीं कूदी थी. एंड इन हाइंडसाइट शी इज नो वर्स ऑफ, राइट, इन सम सेंस. तो यार किसको उसमें करना क्या है, लाइसेंस क्या है, किसी को कुछ पता ही नहीं है. नो क्लू. एंड मैं सबसे बात कर चुका हूँ, मतलब जितने कंसोर्शियम बने हैं ना सबसे बात कर चुका हूँ. मतलब वो कंसोर्शियम का जो लीड है ना वो आपको कॉल पे आके इंडिया बेच रहा होता है कि इंडिया में ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा. बोलो भाई मैं इंडिया में रहता हूँ, तेरे घर के साइड में रहता हूँ, सेम धंधा करता हूँ, ये बता बनाएगा क्या, लाइसेंस तो दे दूंगा, चल क्या बनाएगा लाइसेंस से. तो उसका कोई जवाब नहीं है। वो बस न्यू की स्पेलिंग गलत कर दिया है, NUE कर दिया, वो न्यू लाइसेंस था, कुछ न्यू मतलब कुछ न्यू बनेगा, वो बनेगा क्या किसी को नहीं पता, राइट। तो अभी तो सब ऑप्शनैलिटी भी खेल रहे हैं, ठीक है। मेरा व्यू सिंपल ये है कि भैया जो NPCI ने बनाया है इन टर्म्स ऑफ UPI, वो तुम्हारे किसी को भी बनाने में जान निकल जाएगी, राइट। बिकॉज एक चीज होती है टेक बनाना, राइट, दूसरी चीज होती है 200 महारथी बैंक को बोलना कि भाई तुम सब इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे चलोगे, राइट। विच इज नॉट, people are discounting it, it should not be discounted, it's a big thing that they have been able to achieve. बाकी तो पता नहीं यार, we are not bidding for the license, so आप ये भी बोल सकते हो कि खट्टे अंगूर खट्टे हैं इसलिए ऐसा बोल रहा है, किसी और को समझ आता है तो बता दो।
Do either of you understand, Rajiv, Upasna, what's happening, or have a different view?
No, I don't have a different view. Actually, I agree with Ashneer on that one. Like, see, I think in the end, I'll just give my perspective from a business perspective and a consumer perspective. I think from the consumer's perspective, they don't really care whether the app or this product is running on New or UPI or NPCI or is a homegrown wallet or a payment bank. They don't care at all. They just want to use an end product that will solve problems for them. So that's from the user front. They don't even know. Like, I mean, educated people, right? Like my kid's doctor, I did some consultation and she sent me her Google Pay ID. I said, this is your number. I know that @ is there will be something @. Just tell me that so that I can pay. She's like, no, this is my Google ID. I said, no, this is your phone number. There is some suffix after that. Please provide me that. So I think users don't care. From a business perspective, it's I don't think India needs so much complication, but then again, license Raj is very popular in India. So once upon a time, some people wanted to start wallets, not us. I think some telcos. So somebody got the wallet license made. Somebody took the wallet license, couldn't achieve much with it. And third-party companies like ourselves, Paytm, Freecharge, others jumped into the market and made something out of it. And then they, made the compliance more heavy. Then the bank said, okay, how come these third-party companies are doing this? We want something else. So they wrote a whole new framework for UPI. Very good. It's revolutionary. It's changing India. Now, I think there are some other larger entities in the country who think that now it is too late. Google is there. This one is there. That one is there. Now I can't do much in UPI. So I don't want to be in this ecosystem. So let me make a whole new ecosystem and I will play my own game where I will set my own rules. So that is my understanding. There's like a whole big game of inception going on, dream within a dream within a dream. And frankly speaking, since the dream level was so high and I couldn't make sense of it, so we are not applying for the license. It doesn't make sense. See, like I said, the whole concept is to create a parallel ecosystem to UPI, which some other entities are going to write the rules for. And from my perspective, we already run our own ecosystem. So I don't need a third ecosystem to be part of. I'm happy to rule the ecosystem that I've created. That's sort of my take. Apologies for the analogy of dream versus dream, because see, I mean, you can look at my bio. I've been doing payments ever since I graduated. मुझे अभी तक new समझ नहीं आया है. I can tell you that much. So I've stopped tracking it also.
Oh, that's very helpful. So, guys, last couple of questions, then we'll open it up to audience. Views on regulations. There's lots happening with PA, this card on file thing that's brewing, digital lending. What's your view, both good and bad? Rajiv, maybe start with you.
Yeah, maybe can say. Yeah, I think some amount of regulation is good because it will at least, all said and done, all of us are dealing with public money. We are moving money of consumers, we are managing money for merchants, and their livelihood depends upon it. So some amount of regulation is good because it just ensures that there are only serious players who are really participating in it, and you don't have fly-by-night operators, because that also unnecessarily increases the cost of doing business for all of us. One or two bad experiences and both the consumer and the merchant become very weighty subsequently. So I think to that extent it is good. In general, RBI has been a very supportive organization, we've seen. progressive and supportive kind of an organization. So to that extent, we have been operating in a regulated environment for a very long time. There's like, I think we have like 3 audits going on at any given point in time inside the offices. So a 4th one is fine. It's okay. I think it just helps. Yeah. So no specific issues.
But don't you think there should be like, just stability? Because at least from my vantage point, I just keep seeing every few months there's something new that comes up.
They're learning. No, they're learning. They're also learning because all the innovation that has been done by other startups in the country. No, it's taken them by surprise. It's not something which a regulator by nature is supposed to be conservative. So and startup by nature is supposed to be aggressive. So imagine the conflict. So I think it's fair. I mean, what can they do? It's
Upasna, you guys have similar or different views?
Yeah, so regulator पे मेरा view ये है कि generation gap है, right? Like उनको अभी भी वो डॉट मैट्रिक्स प्रिंटर की आवाज सुनने का बड़ा शौक है. मतलब वो बैंक की ब्रांच में जाओ ना, वो पीछे प्रिंटर की हो रही होती है, राइट? तो वो बूढ़े लोगों को लगता है भाई मेरा पैसा सेफ है, यहाँ पे चल रहा है बैंक, बिकॉज वो आवाज आ रही है पीछे से. सो आई कीप टेलिंग पीपल प्रिंटर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. अगर आप वो ब्रांच से निकाल दोगे ना तो बूढ़े लोगों को लगेगा क्या हो गया. सो with all respect, I think बहुत generation gap हो गया. A person 60-year-old, if he starts today regulating, right? नहीं हो सकता ना. मतलब I find it so tough to explain to my parents कि मैं क्या करता हूँ as a business, right? And वो तो ठीक है, वो मेरी कॉल में आगे पीछे फिर भी उनको नॉइज सुनती रहती है, तो उनको कुछ भी बेटर टर्म्स पता होंगे, बट उनको भी नहीं समझ आएगा मैं क्या करता हूँ, मतलब ढंग से. एंड आई एंड अप स्पेंडिंग 4-5 hours every day with them, right? So एक रेगुलेटर के लिए तो बहुत ही मुश्किल है. So what they don't understand, they distrust, right? And therefore India में हमेशा से आपको यही लगेगा कि यार मार्केट कहीं जा रहा है और रेगुलेशन कहीं और जा रहा है. बट फन वही है कि डिस्ट्रस्टिंग लोगों के बीच में भी आपको बैठ के बिजनेस बनाना है. तो that is what we have signed up for, unfortunately.
Ashni, you should train some of your analysts and send them to RBI and SEBI and all these places, it seems. No, jokes aside, I think at least RBI has and even other regulators in fintech have been reasonably progressive. As in, if I think of China, right, and what's happened to the industry over there, I would shudder if that happens in India. And
no. So see, I'm not disputing कि वो progressive नहीं है. यार progressive नहीं होते तो UPI भी नहीं बनता, right? मतलब they are progressive at a different level. But वो जो मेजर, जो अभी तो हम खुल के बात कर रहे हैं, तो यार एक ना डिस्ट्रस्ट है कि यार बैंक वाला $2 billion का फ्रॉड कर लेगा ना, तब भी आरबीआई को गुस्सा नहीं आएगा कि बोल ठीक है यार बैंक में फ्रॉड हो गया, स्विफ्ट में ये लकूना था, $2 billion चले गए, ठीक है, राइट? लाइक पीएनबी विल स्टिल सर्वाइव. वो फिनटेक का ₹50 का भी केस आ जाएगा ना, वो बोलेगा यार तुम लोग क्या करते हो, मतलब ये कैसे हो सकता है, राइट? भाई तुम समझो भी तो स्केल ऑफ थिंग्स एट व्हिच थिंग्स आर ऑपरेटिंग एंड मूविंग, राइट? सो जनरल मेरे को ये लगता है कि बैंक के 100 खून माफ है, राइट? फिनटेक से खरोच भी नहीं आनी चाहिए. दैट इज द एटीट्यूड व्हिच इज slightly painful.
Yeah.
This is something that you have very nicely said, Ashneer, and I'm just putting in a side quote in here. They say, and I tend to agree with it, it is at least 5x or 10x harder for women to be successful. And I can tell you because I recently looked at the list of self-made billionaires in the world. And, I came to this metric from there. This is the same thing that Ashneer is saying. So a private company, which is not a bank, has to work 10x harder to be in the goodwill of a regulator. That much I would say.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Coming to last question from my side, fundraise environment, listing plans, exits. What are each of you thinking?
Upasna, you want to go? You want to go first? You want me to go first? I can go first.
Why don't you go first?
Yeah. So fundraise is a question of when you need it and for what. So I think a fundraise environment has been for good valuable propositions has always been good. So I don't think that's a challenge. It's a question of what you do with it and how do you put use to it. Of course, over the last year is probably the whole digital space has become a little more attractive for fundraise in general in India. So I think that's the positive side. For us, like I said, last March was our EBITDA positive plan. Unfortunately, got shifted to September, but we did break even. We should be hitting profit either PBT either in April or May of this year, and cash positive shortly thereafter. So by and large, our plans right now stay put to look for a listing in 2023, and that's what we will shoot for.
Cool. Fingers crossed. Upasna.
Great. Congratulations, Rajiv, inching towards. So I think our plans are sort of a little known now in the market. We are preparing for an IPO this year and working aggressively on a war footing towards that. So let's see. Kisi cheez mein to first aake rahenge. So perhaps first fintech to list in India.
Congratulations.
No, really looking forward to it. Super
Thank
awesome. And you're thinking India only, right, Upasna?
Yes, India. We will get listed in India.
And all of that.
No, we considered all of that. We've considered all of that. But I think that, we are a consumer-focused business, right? Today, we have more than 100 million users. Next few years, we'll get to, 250, 300 million users. So it makes sense, to be a known brand and let's say, a decent-sized cap company in the local indexes, rather than being a small or a mid cap in a country where you don't have you are not as well known. So we'll see. I think SEBI is also trying to make it easier going forward for dual listing. So at some point that might happen, but for this year we are focused on an India listing.
Yeah, fair. Ashneer, I know it's very early for your 2-3-year-old company, but you've been on fundraising spree. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that environment and what's happening.
Yeah, environment तो from a fundraising तो काफी सही है अभी आज की डेट में. मेरे को तो 2015 की याद आती है वापस. Basically what's happening here is कि यार बहुत liquidity है, right? And प्राइवेट मार्केट पब्लिक मार्केट बहुत लिक्विडिटी है. फॉर समवन लाइक मी जिसका 2.5 साल पुराना बिजनेस है, प्राइवेट मनी इज अवेलेबल एज चीप एज पब्लिक मनी, राइट? वेरी फ्रैंकली, मतलब एंड मेरे को कोई शर्म नहीं है इस चीज में बोलने के लिए कि मतलब इन्वेस्टर का फोमो अलग लेवल का है आज की डेट में. इट्स एज इफ कि अभी पैसा नहीं डाला तो खत्म हो गया. मतलब हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन है कि आज की डेट में ब्रेड खरीद के रखनी है, वरना मेरा जो कैश पड़ा उसका क्या फायदा, कल तो मेरे को क्रम्स ही मिलेंगे. उस टाइप का फीलिंग है, विच मेरे को पता है कि ठीक भी हो जाएगा. सो सिक्लिकली होता है. सो इन जनरल मेरे को ये लगता है कि किसी को अगर पैसे उठाने हैं तो अभी बहुत सही टाइम है. कम सवाल पूछ के चीप एंड इजी मनी मिल जाएगा. फ्रॉम अ IPO perspective, which is to me is an exit event more than a build out event in some sense. टाइम है यार. सो जनरल मेरा व्यू है कि यार अगर तुम प्राइवेट रह सकते हो लाइफ में तो व्हाई गो पब्लिक, as long as you can avoid it, and when you genuinely feel you're ready, then go for it.
Sure. Yeah, it's good perspective. No, great. Thanks, guys. I think I can keep going asking questions, but we have a time limit. Let me switch over to a few audience questions now. Let's pick this one. What do you think of untapped partnership opportunities between fintechs and banks? There's always been this seesaw, right? And maybe Upasna, we can start with you. You've done multiple types of partnerships with banks. Your views on...
I think that I think that there is a lot of opportunity to actually partner, collaborate, and I don't think that I think it's a very old school and a very myopic view to say that fintech players are competing with banks or vice versa. I think there is a lot of advantage to partnering and creating win-win revenue models, and I think to that extent whether it is partnering with them on payment acquiring, whether it is partnering with them on issuance of cards, whether it is partnering with them for credit. We have done all of those partnerships, and we also run we co-branded apps with a few players. We also partner, for example, on our bill payment stack, which is used on MyGate, it is used on Flipkart. So I think collaboration and partnership works, and I think as a in early stages and even mid stages of growth, startups should definitely look at collaborating with players, of course, in a manner that is win-win for you as well. But I am very gung-ho about partnership. I think that strong models can be created where you are delivering some service that the other party doesn't have, and you're getting some commercials, which you wouldn't have otherwise been able to achieve. Or it would have taken you quite some time to build something. So partnering is good. I think people should find a way to partner, which is, has a positive impact on bottom line.
Yeah, okay. Next one, if people are aggregating data, how are the issues of privacy and security for the data being addressed? And any one of you.
I can respond very briefly. So see, we do ask users to give information about themselves voluntarily, and we also ask them for explicit consents to be able to track some data from their devices. But that is what I would say is required. I mean, in the recent memory, in the recent past itself, there have been some startups that have not been sort of very ethical or transparent about what they are capturing and how they are using. That I think is wrong. So by all means, if you want to collect data, ask the user for a permission in the user experience, show it, and then save it and track it, and then use it. So as an example, on MobiKwik, we ask the user for several different types of additional data consents in order to provide credit or financial products, and a user can decline and not give those consent and still be able to use MobiKwik payments. So that is how I think about it. I think there's no harm in building a kosher product. See, because the other disadvantages, if you're so conservative and you say that I will not ask the user for any alternative data, then you're not going to be able to even disrupt and distribute any products to them. Like most Indians will never get credit otherwise. So one has to be open to finding the right balance between transparency, privacy, as well as providing, value to the customer.
Oh, that's very fair, and probably the way to go for everyone. Then next one is on, rural banking, where, bankers don't even want rural customers to come to branches. What's happening on the ground over there? How will this, next set of users come to the formal banking channels or become formal part of the financial services ecosystem? Not much other than QR being seen so far. So thoughts, and Ashneer, maybe you can go on this one. How do you bring the next set of rural users into the formal banking ecosystem?
Yeah, so see, ऐसा नहीं है कि वहाँ पे कुछ हो नहीं रहा. In fact, there are a lot of companies who are doing these micro ATMs and biometric के through verify करके cash पहुँच जाता है, या किसी को withdrawal करना है, deposit करना है, वो सब होता है, right? So, see, phenomenally change क्या हुआ COVID में कि शहर से काफी लोग जो migrant laborers या migrant workers थे, वो वापस अपने गाँव गए या अपने शहर चले गए, right? So उसकी वजह से a lot of things जो कि prevalent थी शहरों में, वो पिछले साल में जाके गाँव में भी socialize हो गई, right? So अगर मैं अपनी perspective से देखूं, UPI is growing much faster now in tier 2, tier 3 towns, ठीक है? And उसका reason यही है कि यार कोई बंदा गया था, वो अप्रैल से लेके जुलाई तक अपने गाँव में बैठा था, तो करने को भी कुछ नहीं था, दोस्तों के साथ बैठ के शहर में क्या चल रहा है यार, ये चल रहा है, ये देखिए ऐसे होता है, मैं तेरा चालू कर देता हूँ, उस करके ना चीजें काफी पिकअप हो गई. सो डोंट थिंक ऑफ विलेजेस एज यू वुड हैव थॉट देम अ फ्यू इयर्स बैक. सबके पास फोन है, सबके पास इंटरनेट कनेक्शन है, एंड स्लोली एंड ग्रेजुअली they're getting onto the all the things that we in cities are used to.
Yeah. Okay. Ashneer, one more for you. How stable is the P2P lending business and this NBFC P2P framework, given you've worked with a few of them now?
Yeah, see, here's the thing. वो P2P जो NBFC framework है, वो काफी सही है. मतलब मैं the challenge क्या है कि जो P2P NBFC बनी थी, वो as a standalone business कभी नहीं उठे. उसका कारण क्या था कि अगर आप you would know this कि यार हर इंटरनेट बिजनेस में एक कैक है, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्वायरिंग कस्टमर, फिर इकोनॉमिक्स है, राइट? सो इनमें ही अगर तुम P2P का बिजनेस कर रहे हो, तुम्हारे को दोनों पी के लिए कैक इनकर करना पड़ेगा, राइट? लेंडर के लिए भी और बोरोवर के लिए भी. तो पैसा कैसे बनाओगे? उस करके मोस्ट ऑफ दी VCs never went behind this as a service, right? So मेरे को ये लगता है कि उस करके नॉलेज कम है P2P की, बट एज अ प्रोडक्ट, एज अ रेगुलेशन वो काफी सॉर्टेड प्रोडक्ट है. एंड जो प्लेयर्स भी हैं, एंड वी वर्क विद अ फ्यू लाइक लिक्विड लोन्स व्हिच मैट्रिक्स हैज आल्सो फंडेड, राइट? द टेक एंड एवरीथिंग इज प्रीटी सॉलिड.
Okay. So we can take one or two more questions. Okay, this one is a controversial one. Let's take this. How badly UPI has affected wallet business?
I don't know. I think it's a myth. It's a very popular PR headline. Our business has grown 2x every year for the last 3 years. So I'm not sure. I just discussed our revenues also. It's also available on our blog. Feel free to go and read our annual report and check the numbers yourself. So I think UPI is definitely bringing many more users into digital payments. But I think the overall number of unique users using UPI, I believe, is Ashneer would know better, but I think it's still in the 70 to 80 million or thereabouts range. And that's fine. I think there are types of transactions where people are using UPI, and there are types of transactions where people are using cards, and there are similarly types of transactions where people are using wallets. So is it a war between two? I don't know. I think there is new coming, which is expected to kill everything. So you never know, right?
Yeah. There's one question on cryptocurrency. I think we can skip that. I don't think any of that is happening in India anytime soon. What else? Okay, maybe there's one last question on revenue model for payment players who are offering direct mutual funds. Upasana, again, maybe you can take this one.
It's a little hard because, if you operate as a distributor, then you get money from the mutual funds. But if you operate as a independent advisor to the user, then you can't really, you can charge an advisory fee, but come on, who will pay it? So far, we have very few users in India who are investing into mutual funds or share market. So I think it will take some time, and a standalone business model is hard. And I know there are some companies that are, raising significant amounts of capital, but I'm sorry, I really don't know how they will make money. I do think that if you are able to bring in a lot of users and get a lot of AUM from them, and then either, build money off that or by selling other financial products to them. For example, there's a lot of money in insurance. There's a lot of money in credit. So if you bring the user in via one financial product and make them sticky and give them something else that makes you money, that could be a viable model.
It's very hard, at least from whatever I've seen. The cross-sell is just so hard, especially insurance. I don't know how you've been able to do it, Upasana, but at least from whatever I've seen, it doesn't happen on a product itself.
See, that's where, it happens easily on payments. So we've been cross-selling insurance on payments, and bundling works really well.
Yeah.
Credit for payment works, insurance for a particular purchase works. And that's where, I think that it's a strong moat for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great. Thank you so much, Upasana, Rajiv. Ashneer is, I think, dropped. But thank you for taking the time. Fantastic conversation, and more power to you. And hopefully, we'll get to buy your stock in IPOs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.